Good morning. Good morning. It's Thursday. It's May the 4th, and May the 4th be with you. Yes, I'm wearing, you don't always get to see the shirts I'm wearing, depending on where I'm sitting, but it is Star Wars Day, y'all. We have things to talk about that are not Star Wars, but the Star Wars channel on YouTube has a full lo-fi Star Wars live stream going. I'm like, look at you, Star Wars. Look at the lo-fi. Look at it. Look at it. So, with all of that, may the 4th be with you, chat. It's good to see you. I know tomorrow's Revenge of the Sith. Revenge of the Fifth. It's great. Today, we are talking all about Murdaugh. New charges, new lies. I want to know what you think. We're going to listen to a 911 call at the end of this. Everything will be timestamped down below because replay crew, love you. I've been told this is like now the boomer way to do this. There's a new way to do the heart hands. I can't do that. I don't know. I don't know. So I'm going to keep boomering the heart hands this way or just this way. We're going to do it like that. So replay crew, all the timestamps will be down below. Law nerds, don't forget to sign up at lawnerdalert.com so you can stay in the loop with when I am going live. Yes, it will often say 11 a.m. And sometimes that's the truth. It's always ish. Whenever you see me post a time, go with ish. It's 11 a.m. ish. So I have my coffee. I have lots of cursey words today. Lots of them. Did you guys like the podcast from yesterday? It's a bigger topic that we need to keep talking about. But once I started getting into that suit with regard to cheer, which is Navarro College's cheer team was featured on Netflix's show Cheer. So I was going through that. I was just sad. And so many of you have had so many experiences with stuff like this that you're like, yeah, I can see it. Yep, I can totally see that. This is how like cultures of silence work. So it was a really interesting thing. And yes, I just talked about Cheer, but this type of environment where people might think they're being protective when they are actually telling victims to be silenced and to be silent and I can see other college kids saying, if you do this, this is going to be the fallout. Do you really want to do that? So that's not just Cheer. And I saw some comments being like, Emily, this is a bigger problem. Yes, I know. This isn't just Cheer. This happens in industries. This is what happened with Me Too in the entertainment industry, is that one person spoke up and others spoke up to voice support. So it's not just Cheer. We're talking about it in the context of Cheer, the show, and that lawsuit. But this is an issue that is more prevalent than just that. And we'll continue to talk about it. It's a sad lawsuit. And there are other Cheer lawsuits I'm going to cover that that allege similar types of cultures. And it does take a culture shift, but the ones who speak up, it is so painful for them, not only to speak up about what happened to them, but also the fallout. Being the one to speak up often renders fallout. And that's a very, very difficult thing when talking about these cases, because I don't blame people for saying, I don't want to bring this in a lawsuit. I don't want to tell anyone other than my therapist about it. I just want to try to get back to my life. And I understand why people just can't fight the system, can't fight the structures that are in place, and just want to take their time to heal. So I understand that as well. It's a hard thing, which is why we're going to keep talking about it. So thank you for your support on the podcast. It is very clearly not a platform-friendly topic. I can see that. So I wanted to take a minute while I'm live to remind you that that's live on the channel, because I can see it in the analytics and it's just like, and I know that happens, which is why I have sponsors and why we have an amazing law nerd community. So we can talk about the difficult topics that maybe aren't as platform friendly, and we can still have those conversations. To everyone I'm seeing gifting memberships, thank you so much. It is tremendously kind. So Kate, thank you. Mama Trees, thank you. To everyone who has become a member, thank you. It's because of your support that I'm able to say, hey, this topic's probably not going to be super platform friendly or whatever. And we don't care. It's important to us. We want to talk about it and we get to talk about it. And that is a really powerful thing. That is a good thing. We get to shine the light where we see the need for it and pull these topics out and start talking about them in a way that is compassionate, hopefully non exploitative. That's always my goal here. It's always strange talking about content that is difficult. It is always my goal to treat that with delicacy and compassion while still bringing it into the light. And so I appreciate you for that because it doesn't work without you. So, for all of you, thank you. Thank you. Cheers to you. Here, let's just have a cheers before we rage because we're going to rage today. Today's our rage day. So, cheers. we're gonna Murdaugh it up today. And we're going to have to. And that's all that we're talking about today. And then we're going to do lots of questions. I have a hard stop today. Normally, I have a little bit of flexibility. This week is very busy. It's a birthday week. Just for you to know, this is my husband's birthday is Friday. My birthday is Sunday. We really are going to take from the time I log off today, offline and for family time. And I feel like Guardians of the Galaxy coming out this weekend is kind of a birthday gift. We love the Guardians of the Galaxy movies. So we're going to be doing that this weekend. And you might see me a little bit putting up no, you won't. No, you won't. I'll tell you about it when I come back on Tuesday. I'm going to take some time offline, turn the phone off, and just have some good family time. And that's what we're going to do for the birthdays. And that will be a lot of fun. So with all of that, we have a very full weekend planned for the family. So chat, thank you. I appreciate you. And I am going to get started. Are you ready? Let's roll it. We haven't rolled the intro yet. I've got coffee. Where are you coming in from? What are you drinking? Let me know because y'all are all over the world. So it's always fun to see the different time zones and things. Thank you all for the birthday wishes. I wanted to be transparent about why I'm going to be self-yeeting off of the internet this weekend because it's needed. And if I'm like, well, we could just do this and we could just do this, it ends up with me then working all weekend and on my birthday. And this year, I don't want to. I'm just going to take the time. They are the days they are. It's a full moon tomorrow and like a lunar eclipse and things. It's a very exciting weekend. So let's get into the content, shall we? Let's Murdaugh. I'm so mad about all of this. Have you all been watching these stories? I bet that you have. We're gonna talk about it.
Hey there.
I did that badly. Really bad.
Hey there. I'm Emily D. Baker, the internet's go-to legal analyst, breaking down the legal side of the pop culture and entertainment stories we can't stop talking about. I'm a big fan of the cursey words. I've been a licensed attorney for over 17 years, but this is not legal advice. This is where the law nerds unite to talk about facts, not. Let's get into it.
The way my coffee is so hot and delicious this morning. It's so hot and delicious this morning. All right. We're going to jump back into Murdaugh. It's been a minute. I have not seen the Murdaugh appeal yet. When we get the Murdaugh appeal, we're going to go through it. Like Murdaugh's not done. It is a long way from done. We are going to be covering Murdaugh for probably the rest of the year and then some, unless something absolutely unexpected and staggering happens and all of these cases are just done. But they're not. So what we're talking about today, I'm going to do a quick road so far with a few things, but what we're talking about today are the new charges against Alec Murdaugh. He's over 101. So I can't make all of my 99 problems jokes, but maybe I still will. So over 101 criminal charges against Alec Murdaugh now pending. And then we have these new filings that I'm sure you've seen around the internet, but what I'm sure you haven't seen is the context of all of that. But what Murdaugh has said in new court filings is that dogs were not involved at all in the death of Gloria Satterfield. We're going to talk about the death of Gloria Satterfield after we talk about the new charges. I think that's just the easiest way to do it. And the new charges story is a bit shorter. And then we're going to talk a bit about the death of Gloria Satterfield, the investigation into Gloria Satterfield's death, the settlement, and then the insurance lawsuit. But these dogs just get blamed. They just, it's like, oh, it's the dogs. Oh, it's not the dogs. Oh, it was only the dogs and they were a convenient scapegoat. Leave the dogs alone. Ugh. So we're definitely going to be talking about that. But let's talk about the new charges first, shall we? We're not even doing a quick bits today because we need to do all the Murdaugh thing. We don't have time for a quick bits. We will do quick bits again next week. I will put up polls to name the pickle next week. Did I get to them this week? No, I need to. I have the list. I just haven't done it. Sometimes my ADHD gets me, and some tasks, it's like, have we done that poll yet? I'm like, oh, no, but we will. No, but we will. Let's talk about these new criminal charges. So Alec Murdaugh was indicted on tax charges back in, when were they? When were the original tax charges? It was a number of months ago, and we were not surprised. It was right as we were running up to the murder charges. Before that, there was an allegation that he had taken over $8.4 million from victims improperly. So when you have cases where you see somebody taking that type of money, the guess is going to be that they are not reporting that to tax authorities. So you're going to see at some point, generally, tax crimes. December 16th is when the indictments came down. So he was indicted on 9 new counts of willfully attempt to evade or defeat a tax from the years of 2011 to 2019. For all of those charges that were leveraged against him December 16, 2022, it was alleged that he had failed to report over $6.9 million in income and that he owed state taxes to the tune of $486,000. Now, if that's the state taxes, can you imagine what the federal taxes look like? Because what do you know about the IRS, chat? Even our international chat is like, we know, Emily, we know. What do we know about the IRS? The IRS will get their money. The IRS will get their money. They will find you. Just hide your illegally gotten gains, but they will still find you, especially when the crimes unearth and you've got over $8 million in money that was alleged to have been stolen. That money's not getting reported. So we had 6.9 million of the 8.4 accounted for somewhat, and the IRS, why does it sound so weird when I say it? The IRS has not brought any charges against Alec Murdaugh yet. These are state tax charges at this point, right? So that was for tax years 2011 to 2019. So we can kind of guess that more tax years are coming, and that's exactly what happened. For tax years 2020 and 2021, it is alleged that he failed to report another $2.13 million of illegally earned funds, totaling an owing of over $132,000 to state authorities. So now we're over about $500,000 owed to state tax authorities, which means we're going to be in the millions owed to the IRS, right? So those charges will come at some point. The IRS is going to get theirs. We just haven't seen it yet. But you know that the AG's office is turning all of this over to the feds too, being like, here's what we're charging, here's the information. So that gets us a little closer. That's 6.9 million plus 2.13 million. So that's getting us a little closer to that estimated loss from victims of 8.4 million. And that's what the state's attorney, not the state's attorney's office, the attorney general's office is going to be doing it, looking at all of the money stolen from victims, stolen from clients, and going through and seeing when that has been paid or not paid. Andy said, so he's being taxed on stolen money. Yes, he took that money as income. He treated that money as income and he didn't pay the taxes on it. So yes, he is going to be taxed for taking that money in and spending it and not paying taxes on it. Had he paid taxes on it, it would have been like, hey, there's something weird going on with his tax returns. So when I say when you see fraud crimes, the tax crimes always come after, it's because the tax crimes come after. Because you get the fraud crimes, and then the IRS is like, oh, hey there, this is going on in Girardi too. The IRS and state franchise tax board in California are coming for Girardi for all the money that he took and didn't pay. So whether he has any money left, we don't know, right? Because we saw, and this was in court for hearing yesterday or the day before, but there is a receiver that has been appointed in some of the cases with regard to the money that Alec Murdaugh still had from his 401k. Now, there's a lot of room for conversation, and I covered this in other content, but there's a lot of room for conversation around, is that 401k money tainted funds, meaning did it come from stolen funds and go in? Or because he had all of this stolen income, was he allowed to put more of his legitimate income in the 401k, which is probably what he did, to protect it from anyone being able to claw it back later? And in the receivership, they are trying to parse out more money. Well, Murdaugh is asking for more money to get paid to Jim Griffin and Dick Harpootlian for legal fees for the appeal, etc. And I covered that motion. That's the motion where you know, Dick and Jim were just like, we don't want him to be a burden to the public defenders. So we need this money from his 401k so we can pay for ourselves. That motion. Do you remember that motion? So he's trying to get more money out of his 401k, and his 401k generally doesn't get touched by other things. But then there's the conversation of, even if it's not tainted funds in the 401k, meaning it's not stolen funds that went into the 401k, you can put a lot more money into your 401k if you don't need the money you're earning from your job to like live on, because you're stealing hundreds of thousands of dollars to millions and millions of dollars elsewhere, right? It makes it a little bit easier to take your legitimate income and hide it out in a 401k. So these are the arguments going on in court with regard to the receivership and regard to paying Dick and Jim for their legal work. They had to know this was going to be an issue. Like, they took this case knowing that this was going to be an issue. Ugh. The receivership is going to come up in what we're talking about today. So those are the new charges against Alec Murdaugh. I don't think this is the end of charges for him, because I do think the IRS will come in with those charges. So Marty asked, why didn't the IRS put a hold on the house selling? The IRS can't put a hold. They haven't brought anything against him. There's no liens outstanding against him. And the house selling, those funds went to the estate of Maggie because his name wasn't on Moselle. So the IRS going after Murdaugh is a bit different. Maggie is now deceased. I am not a tax attorney, and this gets much more complicated. But Moselle was in Maggie's name, and a lot of the money from the sale of the house went to settlements with other victims. So that's why Moselle was not grabbed by the IRS. The IRS can't grab it yet. I know it doesn't feel this way, but there are supposed to be processes and procedures for when the IRS can attach funds, when the IRS can garnish things, and they haven't even started that process with regard to Maggie and with regard to, Alec Murdaugh. With Maggie, it's all taken up separately. So Lucinda asked, doesn't the IRS have marital assets? Yes, and again, I am not a tax attorney or a tax professional. I hire tax professionals and then I ignore their emails until they're like, girl, please, you have to get your stuff done. I hate dealing with it. It is that and registering my car are the two things where my ADHD has never been more clear than putting off things that I actually have to get done. I annoy, I'm sure, the ever living shit out of my accountants who are like, can you please just? So I actually have the accountants reach out to the team so the team can make it on my calendar so I have time to do accountant things. They're like, Emily, you have to do accountant things. It sometimes adulting is hard. So I am not a tax attorney. I am a nerd. I did a lot of tax classes in law school, but it is not something I have practically worked with. So my breaking this down is going to be surface. It seems that with the Murdaughs, that things were structured so that they were separate, and that can be done. You can structure things. Oh, Chelsea, I have a bookkeeper. Oh, I have a bookkeeper. The thing that doesn't help my bookkeeper is when I don't answer their questions for weeks and weeks and weeks on end. They're like, "What was this for?" The reality is if I just answered the question sooner, it would be easier to remember what said Amazon purchase was for or whatever. Normally books that I am reading to work on content that I am doing. Either way, it seems that the Murdaugh stuff was structured so that Maggie's stuff was separate. So that is where we seem to be with it, but I would have to dive deeper into that, because I haven't really looked at what was going on with Moselle all that much because I knew that the funds were going to victim funds, so I didn't dive deeper into it because there's so much. I have a hair that is driving me crazy. There is so much shit with the Murdaugh case, and I cover so many cases. I mean, there's room to cover just this case, and we see that with, like, Mandy Matney's podcast, right, and others. She's not There are others that also just cover Murdaugh. I cover so much that sometimes there are things that I don't deep dive on, and what's going on with the Moselle property is one of them. So, I will say when it comes to my taxes, though, I pay because I also don't wanna pay, like, fees and fines. So I pay and then I extend and then we file. And we it works out generally. I just hate it. I shared on Instagram Melissa Urban's like series on like things that aren't necessarily hard but are hard to get done. And it really is her talking about things like task initiation for certain things that seem small, but then sometimes they feel really big. And I feel so seen. I'm just like, thank you. I feel so seen. Things that should be small, getting your car registered like on time when they send you a million things in the mail, but also things that can be really, really difficult depending on your own level of anxiety, depression, neurodivergence, whatever's going on. There are these little things sometimes that are just sticking points and feel hard. And so it's been a really fun series to watch. And I'm like, I feel like I'm not alone and other people struggle the way that I struggle. And so there's times it's like, Emily, how do you do all the things? I don't. I sure don't. I sure don't. There are things that are much easier for me. Streaming, easy task initiation. Researching the cases I do for streaming, easy task initiation. I love all of this stuff. Stuff I don't love doing, really hard task initiation. Real difficult. And it's my lovely husband sometimes is just like, "But we just need to get it done." I'm like, "Yeah, I know that." Like in my brain. I know that that's true. But the task initiation, the inertia it takes to do it is very hard. So here is what I'll propose. You can do it. And that's kind of where we end up with that. And it really, here's the secret to a long and happy marriage, all of y'all who are interested in a long and happy marriage or long and happy partnership. Find a partner that doesn't hate the shit that you hate and you don't hate the shit that they hate. So if you don't mind doing the dishes and your partner hates doing the dishes, you're like, "Okay, good. I can pick up the things that you hate. You can pick up the things that I hate. We can partner together and then we are a team." Find your teammate. And then also it helps if you think they're cute because you're like, "Oh, you're adorable." And cute can be personality, looks. There's lots of things that make for cute. But find someone who is your partner. And then or if you both hate the thing, agree that you're going to have somebody else help you with the thing that you hate. Taxes. We both agree. It's not like he's fighting me to not have accountants do the taxes. So, find the person. Find the person. Yes, Amy Kimball, that's the point I was just getting to. Outsource the things you both hate. Exactly. Look, I know that every podcast I do a green chef spot, but for both of us, meal planning is one of the things that is really tough. This goes way back to our childhoods. This is not therapy today. We need to talk about Murdaugh lying. But both of us were just like, I like cooking this way. Like it's all here. The instructions have pictures. It tells me what I need to do. It is good every single time. I really can't mess it up. I just need to follow the instructions. I can go back to the instructions and it's all right there. So, Amora, I'm going to answer this question when we get to Q&A, but yes, I have all the things. I've done all the things. I've done all the things. Dr. Patrice, this makes me feel so validated. That has saved my marriage. I love it. Look, sometimes we just need to talk about the things in life that are life things. It's been a very life things week. We have been life thinging around the Baker household. So that is when I talk about Green Chef every single week. It really is because that makes it easy. What are we having for dinner? These are our three options and a picture. Great. It's like ordering off a menu, but then you get to feel like you cooked it yourself at home. So good. Today was not sponsored, but they are such a long-standing sponsor. I don't feel bad at all talking about them when they are not sponsored. So you can go to my link yesterday and use that if you want to try it for yourself. But that's one of those things where it's, hey, we both think that this works better and this helps. All right. We need to talk about this insurance case now that we've taken a little blip to talk about life things. This case has been going on for a little bit. So let me just swoop a doop and then I'll give you the background on the insurance case and we'll go from there. Yeah? All right. Let's talk about it. Of course, there's an insurance case because what would a trial be without a side of an insurance case? With Alec Murdaugh, there is an insurance case from his umbrella insurance carrier. This case was filed, I'm pulling it up now and we will talk about it, but this case was filed, before this. Early on in 2022, this is the amended complaint. I had a note and I don't see my note, so we're just going with it. This was filed in 2022 from the Nautilus Insurance Company against Alec Murdaugh, Corey Fleming, Moss and Kuhn, Kuhn, I think that's how we pronounce that, Chad Westendorf, Palmetto State Bank, and the United States of America. The answer to this is the one that has been gaining all the attention, but I think it's more helpful to go through what the underlying lawsuit is and then get to the answer to the insurance fraud portion of this chat. So when we get to the insurance fraud portion of the chat, we have I enjoy it. I enjoy getting to the insurance fraud portion of the chat. This is it's interesting to me and hopefully to you to talk about this stuff. So we're going to go to the original complaint, not all of it. It is 52 pages long. We're going to go to the heart of the original complaint and then to the answer and then we're just going to chat about stuff. All right. There we go. Like that's not what we need. I like this new layout. Look, man, StreamYard let us do custom layouts and added that as one of their features. And I just like this layout so much where I get to be a slightly bigger head in a box. Not that kind of head in a box. Chat. Not like, where's my goat? Damn it. You can't find your goat when you need it, Emily. What happened? Where did I put the goat? The new Stanley Cup came, but the goat is missing. My desk is such a disaster. How did this end up all the way in the back of that drawer? All right. Come on, Vincent Van Gogh. The timing is off now. It's a different kind of head in a box. Oh, today's just going to be chaos. I'm here for it. All right. We're just going for a sassy Thursday. I know. The Great Goat Escape. Why did I take it off of? Yeah, I was absolutely thinking of Justin Timberlake. Absolutely thinking of it. Chat, you're the best. Thank you for just being here with me on this journey today. I appreciate it. Some days are just going to be chaos, and that's where the brain goes. So this is Nautilus Insurance Company versus Alec Murdaugh, Corey Fleming, law firm, Chad Westendorf, Palmetto State Bank in the United States of America. You've heard some of these names come up throughout the murder trial if you watched the murder trial. Comes now insurance company Nautilus amending its pleading pursuant to Rule 15A1 and 1. We're not going to go over the original one because this is the amended one, and this is what covers. Nautilus is an insurer organized under the laws of Arizona with its principal place of business in Scottsdale, Arizona. Alec Murdaugh is a citizen resident of Colton County. Corey Fleming is a citizen resident of Beaufort County. A law firm formerly known as, oh, this is the law firm that Corey Fleming got kicked out of. MKF, formerly known as MKF, is a South Carolina professional association with its place of business located in Beaufort. Chad Westendorf is a citizen and resident of Hampton. Palmetto State Bank is a South Carolina corporation, chartered banking institution. The United States has subpoenaed records from Nautilus regarding coverage it issued to Murdaugh, grand jury subpoena number 2002-0064. Well, that's new information because that's the feds. Huh. Trisha Lynn, no, I'll allow it. I'll allow the MFKer. I'll allow it with the law firm. Absolutely. Huh. This is interesting. So the feds have asked for records regarding Nautilus's coverage that was issued to Alec Murdaugh. What are the feds looking at? And that was from 2002 or from 2022. What are the feds looking at, Murdaugh? This court has jurisdiction pursuant to the code. Stick to the code. Factual allegations. This is the context that we need. Nautilus issued policy PU numbers to Murdaugh, providing $5 million in umbrella coverage to Murdaugh subject to policy terms. A copy of the policy is attached to Exhibit A. So if you want to look at the policy, we can look at it for a minute. If there's any insurance-y people when we get there, if there's any particular provisions you'd like to see, we can go look. On February 2nd, 2018, Gloria Satterfield fell. She died on February 26, 2018. Murdaugh made a claim for coverage under the policy with regard to the claim against him, purportedly on behalf of the estate of Miss Satterfield. Nautilus provided defense counsel for Murdaugh and ultimately paid in excess of $75,000 to resolve what it believed to be claims by the Satterfields. Beginning in July 2021 and continuing through the filing of this action, Nautilus became aware for the first time of facts regarding the Satterfield claims, allegations of insurance fraud, conspiracy to commit insurance fraud, and allegations of criminal conduct, the quote-unquote irregularities. Let's go through the irregularities, shall we? I'm very interested. What is happening here? The irregularities include that it was Murdaugh who approached the Satterfield family after the death of Gloria Satterfield and suggested they sue him to collect from his insurance companies, including Nautilus. Oh, insurance companies. I'm going to save this. Thank you, Elizabeth. I'm going to save this till we get down to that part. Appreciate that. That Murdaugh arranged for Fleming, lawyer, his longtime close friend, and MKF, to represent the Satterfield family in bringing the claims against his insurance. So for those of you that are like, remind me who Corey Fleming is. Corey Fleming is a lawyer. I don't know if I think Corey Fleming has been disbarred, but I am not 100% on that. If not, it is in process. But Corey Fleming is like Murdaugh's OG bestie. And Murdaugh went at Gloria Satterfield's funeral, went to her sons and was like, look, you need to sue me. I recommend Corey Fleming. Didn't disclose their relationship. And then he and Corey Fleming together were just like, we will do the insurance situation together. So Murdaugh placed Corey Fleming with the Satterfield boys to perpetrate this insurance fraud together. So Fleming and Murdaugh seem to be co-conspirators in the insurance fraud working together. They're going to continue to talk about that. The Murdaugh and Fleming arranged for Westendorf to serve as the personal representative of the estate of Gloria Satterfield in exchange for a fee. So what they did with this, and you saw one of Gloria Satterfield's two sons testify. The Satterfield family is now represented by Eric Bland. You might be familiar with him from the Cup of Justice podcast. He's on the Murdaugh Murders with Mandy Matney a lot. He's an attorney in this area in South Carolina. He was at the trial for a number of days, sitting there supporting his clients, the Satterfields. His firm is now also working with and representing the mother of Stephen Smith and worked with the exhumation of Stephen Smith to do an independent autopsy and investigation into his death. So Eric Bland is counsel for both of these. And with regard to Gloria Satterfield at the funeral, that's when all of this went down. After the funeral, they took Gloria Satterfield's oldest son and replaced him. It might be her youngest son, her son that testified, and replaced him as personal representative of the estate. Once her sons were no longer personal representatives of the estate, the lawyers only communicate with the PR of the estate. So pulling her sons out of the estate so they were no longer representatives of their mother's estate means that the lawyers no longer had to communicate with them. And so Westendorf, Murdaugh, and Fleming all just had to communicate with one another and then go and get a settlement signed. Normally, the settlement would have to be agreed to by the family. If there's a settlement, the family would have to sign it. But because there was no, and the judge that signed off on this, I have questions. But because they cut the boys out, the settlement could be agreed upon between these three men. That's how Gloria Satterfield's sons did not know that a settlement was reached in the case until Mandy Matney uncovered it and started reporting on the fact that there had been a settlement reached in this case. They didn't know there was a settlement. They never got the money. Daves, it's not just unethical. It's illegal. Oh, they erased the sons and stole the money. So they cut the sons out so they didn't have to communicate. They arranged for a settlement with the insurance companies. That's who paid out the settlement. They got the settlement paid out by the insurance companies, and then they stole the money together. And the Satterfield sons were being told, which is why it came up in trial, the Satterfield sons were being told, oh, we're working on it. Oh, we're doing this. And we saw that at trial. Alec Murdaugh was telling Gloria Satterfield's sons that after he had already stolen the money that the insurance companies paid out to settle. Gloria Satterfield helped raise Alec Murdaugh's children, and he stole from her sons. I cannot talk about this case without getting mad. I'm just mad. And Alec Murdaugh has already signed a confession of judgment about all of this and admitted to doing it. So these are not allegations. This is the shit that he did. And it pisses me off. A lot of cases, I'm like, let's see both ways. Let's see both sides. No, fuck that. No, there's no two sides to this. It's disgusting. So this is how Murdaugh, Fleming, and Westendorf, in their own little group, stole the money for themselves. It's the fact that Alec Murdaugh was able to sleep after stealing from people who were so close to him is still stunning to me. I still get twitchy if I haven't called my mom in like 3 days. I'm like, oh, she's gonna be mad. Mom, I've just been really busy. I'm sorry. I don't understand this psychopathy. And that's truly what it is. I don't understand how this man's brain works. I don't understand what allows people to do this on this level and hurt the people that they love the most. I know addiction is at play here. I know there are probably other psychopathies at play. And I know that even saying that invites speculation. Please, let's not speculate. It's safe to just say, I can't appreciate it because it's so awful. But he didn't just steal from the Satterfields, and we know that from the trial. He stole from so many who were close to him and has been convicted of murdering his wife and son. So I guess it's really not that far-fetched that we can't wrap our heads around what this person was doing, how they were thinking, and what they were dealing with. Um, Allie, I think there are multiple things going on with Murdaugh in addition to addiction. So, will we ever understand Alec Murdaugh? I don't know. I'm sure there are others that speculate about what's going on with him. I'm sure there are. I'm not one of them. I don't know. But on a lawyer level, all of this is unethical and wrong. So let's continue on. Do we want to understand him? That's a really good question. Do we want to understand Alec Murdaugh? Maybe not. So there's a lot going on. I think, Samantha, this might just be the easiest way to say it. Alec Murdaugh is a bad man. I think I rarely cast judgment on people, but I think it's pretty safe to say that Alec Murdaugh is not a great human, and we've seen that. Why hasn't the judge been looked into that signed this? I don't know, but I know that that's something that others, local journalists, including Mandy Batney, are asking questions about and are in a good position to actually keep asking those questions about. I think for us, the questions continue to be, how did this happen? It's the same for me in the Rust case. How did this happen? How did a judge sign off on this? How did the judge not ask, where are the beneficiaries of the estate in this? How did this happen? And hopefully we will see what happened. This was not Judge Newman. This was a judge that seemed to frequently work with Murdaugh. And I have questions about that. And I hope that one day there will be answers to those questions. Let's continue on. So this is how this operation worked. The three of them cornered out the family and stole the money from the insurance companies. So Westendorf served as personal representative to the estate of Gloria Satterfield in exchange for a fee, as they had previously done with other officers and directors at Palmetto State Bank, effectively removing the Satterfield family from the proceedings. Unbeknownst to the insurance company Nautilus, Murdaugh was not a bona fide insured seeking coverage, but rather was coordinating the handling of the claim with Fleming. See, Fleming and Murdaugh were conspiring. I appreciate that they use the word coordinating, but conspiring together. Versus a normal insurance claim, like in a car accident or something, where both parties reach out to insurance and your insurance protects you or don't or whatever, and you're dealing with your insurance and they're dealing with their insurance. Here, Alec Murdaugh was dealing with his insurance, but he was also coordinating and organizing what the other side was doing too. So he was trying to sue himself, which is not suing himself, which is insurance fraud. Was coordinating the handling of the claim. The Satterfield sons thought that Alec was their attorney. They thought that Alec was representing them and the estate of Gloria Satterfield against himself. And that's not their fault. That's what he was holding out to them. This is the same shit Girardi pulled with, I've got you, don't worry, I'll take care of it. And people trust them. They see them as successful. They see them as a big deal. They see them as powerful. And they're like, okay, I trust you. You know what you're doing. I don't. Who am I to question you? And that breaks my heart. So Murdaugh was, they say coordinating, I say conspiring. We'll use them synonymously. Including sending correspondence related to the case on Murdaugh's firm letterhead and preparing and delivering disbursement sheets, such that Fleming and Murdaugh were effectively co-counsel. Accurate. Murdaugh pressured Nautilus to settle the claim, threatening a suit for bad faith if they refused to pay policy limits. Oh, Okay. So he turned around and went to the insurer and was like, settle it. Normally, the insurer gets to decide how they want to proceed. Whether the insured pressures them or not, we need to get back, by the way. There's a lot going on in the Amber Heard insurance company stuff. We'll do that next week. But the insured reaching out and being like, settle it, settle it, settle it is kind of wild. Murdaugh was abusive towards the Nautilus adjuster handling the claim. Lawsuits are allegations in shade. And these allegations, well, some of these allegations actually have been proven in court. I believe that. I can see it. I can 100% see it. I can 100% see Alec Murdaugh being awful to the insurance adjuster. Can't you? Not shocked. Murdaugh was abusive towards the insurance adjuster handling the claim and demanded Nautilus pay full policy limits, threatening that if a case against him were filed and went to trial, he would admit liability and the judgment would be substantial. Here's what he's telling his insurance. Settle it for policy limits, or I'm going to go to trial and just tell everyone how much this is my fault, and a jury is going to make you pay. What is the insurance company going to do? Because at this point, his reputation is not shit yet. The monies contributed by Nautilus as a result of the foregoing and settlement of the claims against the Satterfield family were deposited by Fleming into MKF's trust account, but were never received by the Satterfield family. Instead, Fleming dispersed the funds minus fees of over $600,000. Right, Fleming kept over $600,000 to an account created by Murdaugh in the name of Forge and controlled by Murdaugh.
And here's the fake Forge account again. They took the money from the settlement. Corey Fleming kept over $600,000 for himself, and it went to fake Forge.
I saw this comment. I didn't see the original comment. Sorry, my nose itched. Seymour Butts. I also like your screen name, and I needed a giggle because I'm so angry about this. Hi, at your mom. I like your name. I have never laughed so hard as when we were on a road trip down to Florida, and someone's license plate was your mom, and I giggled and giggled and giggled and giggled. I absolutely loved it so much. It's like, who's picking you up from school today? Your mom. And it was a giant, like, suburb mom Chevy Tahoe, like a huge blacked out Chevy Tahoe with your mom on the license plate. It was so good. I loved it. I loved everything about it. All right, let's continue. So are we shocked? No. No, we're not. Misopinionated. I know you're right. Insurance companies don't work like that. This is South Carolina, and he's a Murdaugh, misopinionated. And Murdaugh's gonna Murdaugh, isn't he? This is how he works. When they talk about the Good Old Boys Club in South Carolina and the power and the influence that he had over banks, over insurance companies, this doesn't work for us. I apologize when I need to return something and have to call and get a return slip. This is not how we operate in the world. This is how this man, in all of the audacity of generational power and wealth, operates. This is completely normal to Murdaugh to call up the insurance company and threaten them to get what he wants. This is a man who drove around with a DA badge on his dash and police lights installed in his personal vehicle. So I am not shocked. But this is not how insurance companies are supposed to work. None of this was supposed to happen. There are supposed to be checks and balances. And that is the problem with this type of power, is the checks and balances get backdoored by the wink, nod, handshake of everyone within the structures. This is how Palmetto State Bank got swooped up into all of this by its CEO, who was one of these men, going, I got you. Giving loans to Alec Murdaugh without putting them on the books. An overdraft of hundreds of thousands of dollars without putting it on the books. Because they were all playing into this level of power. I could rant. And this is why during this case, the people we saw taking this down was the CFO at the law firm, the legal secretary. It's not the people in traditional positions of power. It's people with tremendous courage because they're not in positions of power who spoke up and said, this isn't right. And that starts pulling these threads. But it's hard to do because those people aren't protected. They don't have the money and the generational wealth to stand up and say, do what you want to me. You can't hurt me. I don't need this job. They do need the job. They need their families to be safe. And that's why it's so hard to upend these structures, because the cost of those that try to upend it can be so great. And some people are like, I just need to pay for my family to eat. I need to keep a roof over their head. And that's hard. So that's how we get here, is by no one standing up, and they're all the dudes who are doing this are all profiting off it together and nobody else knows. It's changing though. And people, I think this is kind of the equalizer of social media, right? And it's for good or for bad. We're going to sidebar for a quick second. Tell me what you think about this. That is way too low. That's much better. We're thinking the thoughts out loud. Here is the potential benefit of social media. If social media works in a, all voices can equally be heard kind of a way, and that's not always how social media works. But there's room for people to speak in a way that they weren't able to before. And that might help to start shining the light on these things. I can talk about this. What can the Murdaughs do to me other than be mad at me at this point, right? I don't live there. I'm not licensed by the bar in their state. For me, if I get to talk to y'all, the consequence for me speaking up is not great, right? There's no great consequence to me. I still get to talk. It's not always easy. There are people who say mean things on social media, right? But I have a platform. And without social media, I wouldn't have. Mandy Matney can work for herself and have a platform to do investigative journalism on her own. Start a podcast, broadcast it, other people can hear it. What are you going to do? You can't go to my boss and get me fired, right? You can't go to the head of the network whose kid goes to college with your kid and go, by the way, we need somebody gone. There's no head of the network. What are you going to do? Go to YouTube? Try it. So this is where we end up having some of an equalizer where people's voices can be heard. It doesn't mean that people don't try to shut down channels. That can happen. But you don't have the same control over me because I don't need anything from you, right? When it comes to like the Murdaughs, you don't know the head of the bank where my family has their mortgage. These are the types of things that make it easier for me to speak up. And so social media can be very powerful in that way, to give a voice to those that are trying to shed a light on these things when there can otherwise be consequences. And that's a really powerful thing. It can also be negative. I try to focus on the positive. So it's nice to see the light being shed on this. And when I cover court documents, I'm covering court documents. This is what we're saying in court, and we get to shine a light on it. So it's really nice to be able to have y'all to chat to about this. So let's keep going. It's so appalling, right? It continues to say, no effort was made by Westendorf, Palmetto, Fleming, or MKF to ensure the funds intended for the Satterfield family were received by the Satterfield family. violating their obligations regarding escrow funds and their disbursement. Through the irregularities and other action, Murdaugh and others, including everyone I just named above, are co-conspirators. There's the word. Coordinating efforts to improperly obtain insurance money and disperse insurance proceeds for their own personal gain at the expense of Nautilus. The irregularities led to Murdaugh and Fleming being suspended from the practice of law and indicted. There was more that went in. No, I think this was the one that led to both of their disbarments. And I had said I wasn't quite sure if Fleming was indicted, in the chat being Bay, because chat is Bay, all said no, he was disbarred before Murdaugh was disbarred. The irregularities shone a different light on some of the facts and circumstances surrounding the claim, such that it is now apparent these facts and circumstances were misrepresentations or concealments of the truth, so lies, were deceitful, and were intended to mislead, obscure, or disassemble, including 1. And now we're going to get into the facts surrounding the death of Gloria Satterfield. Remember, Gloria Satterfield, they granted an exhumation. I don't know if Gloria Satterfield was exhumed, but was granted an exhumation. And so there is still stuff going on here. Though the Satterfield family has said that they believe there is no foul play into the death of Gloria Satterfield, this might call that into question for you. Meta said, question, is Corey Fleming the birthday party video guy? No, that was Chris Wilson who testified. Immediately following Gloria Satterfield's fall on February 2nd, 2018. Oh, these are the lies. Alleged lies. The insurance company is alleging that these things are not true. That immediately following Gloria Satterfield's fall on February 2nd, 2018, Murdaugh rushed to the scene, arriving before EMS. On March 29th, 2018, Murdaugh stated that Satterfield briefly regained consciousness. I didn't know this. Briefly regained consciousness, during which time she stated that the Murdaugh's dogs caused her to fall. Leave Bubba alone. The statement was heard by no one else and is contradicted by Ms. Satterfield's later statement to hospital staff that she had no idea what made her fall. That on March 29th, 2018, Murdaugh claimed Satterfield was at his property not to perform work for Murdaugh and his family, but to collect a check for work performed somewhere else, thus avoiding a workers' compensation defense. Murdaugh stated to multiple third parties in Hampton County that he was liable for Gloria Satterfield's fall and ultimate death, an admission against interest that all but ensured that there could be no challenge to liability, and securing his ability to force Nautilus to contribute settlement funds that Murdaugh and the co-conspirators stole. Murdaugh, and he told, and we saw some testimony about this, we saw him say to Gloria Satterfield's son, or we know that he said to Gloria Satterfield's son, I'll say it's my fault and the insurance companies will have to pay you. Murdaugh filed a proposed confession of judgment on March 24th, 2022, and a case number in the state of South Carolina that's attached. Prior thereto, co-receivers were appointed by the state court in Hampton County to administer Murdaugh's assets and claims against Murdaugh. The order appointing the co-receivers purports to require any party obtain leave of the state court of consent from the co-receivers prior to suing Murdaugh outside of that jurisdiction. Though disputing the validity of that requirement in the state's order, Nautilus obtained the consent of counsel for the co-receivers prior to suing Murdaugh in this action. First cause of action, fraud, as to Murdaugh. The foregoing paragraphs are incorporated fully. Nautilus believed that the claim against its policy was brought at the behest of the Satterfield family. The scope of Murdaugh's depravity. Oh, here we go. The sass has showed up. There's the sass. The scope of Murdaugh's depravity is without precedent in Western jurisprudence. I wish that was true, but I'm also covering Girardi. He and his conspirators disguised that they were making the claim under Nautilus's policy for their own benefit. In the events as aforesaid, not used nearly enough in legal filings, Murdaugh knowingly made numerous false statements to Nautilus, to wit. Oh, more lies. Let's see what else. On March 22, 2018, Murdaugh represented to the Nautilus claims adjuster that he sought coverage under the policy in order to protect himself from losses to the Satterfield estate in the action, and that he was liable to the Satterfield estate for policy limits. In fact, it was he himself who sought to obtain payment of the insurance funds in the action, as he intended to, and ultimately did, divert the funds to himself and his co-conspirators rather than use them to satisfy the estate's claims. Owner about March 20th. Look, I think all of this is more damning than the answer, truthfully. I know the answer is very interesting and we're going to get there soon, but I think this is super damning. Super damning. It seems like Nautilus did investigate the accident, and I've got more questions about that, Lawnard Tina. I want to know what their investigation turned up, but it also seems that perhaps Murdaugh was laying the groundwork that when Nautilus did the investigation and went and talked to people, everyone else said, oh yeah, Murdaugh talked to us. He told us this is what happened. And everyone is just going through what Murdaugh said because he laid the groundwork. On or about March 22nd, 2018, Murdaugh stated to an independent adjuster with the intent that Nautilus would rely on his representation that shortly after the purported fall, he heard Miss Satterfield say that Murdaugh's dogs had caused her fall. Miss Satterfield made no such statement and later told hospital staff that she did not know why she had fallen. Because she had a catastrophic head injury. And not remembering how you fell after you've had that kind of injury is not surprising to me. Murdaugh repeated the statement on March 29th, 2018 during an interview with Bryant McGowan, an insurance investigator, again with the intent that Nautilus would rely on the representation. On or about March 29th, 2018, Murdaugh stated to McGowan that on the day of the purported fall, Miss Satterfield was at his property not to perform work for Murdaugh and his family, but to collect a check for work performed for someone else. Does that even make fucking sense? He was just holding her money from someone else. In fact, she was there to perform work herself. Murdaugh intended that Nautilus would rely on this representation. April 2nd, 2019, Murdaugh represented to counsel appointed. Oh, wait, I got distracted by a question. Hold on. I'm going to grab it because we're going to get to this. Bama Gemini. I see your question and I'm trying to pull it up and it's not coming up for me. Did Maggie and Paul tell 911 the dogs tripped her? We're going to go listen to the 911 call after this. So thank you for asking that question. There it is. It just came up a little delayed. We're going to go listen to the 911 call together after this. Yep, he was trying to keep this out of workman's comp. He was absolutely trying to keep this out of workman's comp because workman's comp investigates. I wonder if he thought workman's comp would investigate much more thoroughly than his insurance company, or that he thought he didn't have sway with workman's comp, right? All right, let's continue. I'm going to try not to get distracted. Thank you, chat, for helping me not get distracted. Because I want to get through this and then get to questions. Where was I? Oh, in fact, she was there to perform work. Okay. April 2nd, Murdaugh represented to counsel appointed by Nautilus for his defense. So this is his defense attorney hired by the insurance company, that Nautilus should disperse funds for the settlement of the action to Westendorf and MFK, and that the funds so dispersed would be distributed to the Satterfield estate. In fact, he intended for the funds to be so dispersed and to be distributed to himself and his co-conspirators, and the funds ultimately were so distributed. Yep, he took them. Sure did. Murdaugh made these false statements knowing they were false and intending that Nautilus would rely on them. Specifically, he sought to mislead Nautilus and force it to contribute to a quote-unquote settlement that was not real. Yes, so we could steal their money. Nautilus relied on Murdaugh's false statements to its detriment and dispersed funds under the policy for a quote-unquote settlement based on the fraud and deceit. Second cause of action, conspiracy to commit fraud for all defendants. everything that they said above. They all agreed to do this. Third cause of action, South Carolina Unfair Trade Practices Act, all defendants except the U.S., which is them and the co-conspirators. Fourth cause of action, declaratory judgment. The foregoing paragraphs are incorporated. The United States served. Ooh, I want to know more about this. More about this. The United States served a subpoena on Nautilus on February 8th, 2022 for Nautilus's files relating to the Satterfield claims, including files over which Murdaugh has asserted claims of privilege, largely the files of the firm that defended Murdaugh in the Satterfield claims. With regard to the subpoenaed materials, Nautilus provided the files in its possession to Murdaugh's counsel and asked them to advise as to whether Murdaugh claimed privilege. Murdaugh asserted privilege. Nautilus asked Murdaugh's counsel for a privilege log, and no such log has been produced. So this is Murdaugh trying to block the subpoena, the documents being turned over subject to the subpoena to the United States. Nautilus has not produced materials sought in the subpoena over which there has been a claim of attorney-client privilege by Murdaugh. Nautilus contends the materials in question are not privileged because Murdaugh's invocation of privilege has constrained Nautilus's ability to respond to the subpoena. Did they have to do this inside this lawsuit? There exists an actual and current controversy or uncertainty of legal relations between Nautilus and Murdaugh and or among Nautilus, Murdaugh, and the United States that requires resolution by this court. I mean, I guess they're related, but we'll see. So Nautilus is asking the court to determine what, if anything, needs to be turned over to the U.S. pursuant the subpoena. So then we've got the insurance claim umbrella policy. The $5 million umbrella policy is attached, and with forms, endorsements. I'm not going to go through that. We also have which is what I wanted to get to. Pardon me while I zoom. Oh, somebody wanted to look at exclusions. The following is not covered under Coverage A, which I have not gone through. Any obligation for which the insured or any carrier as his insurer may be liable under any workers' compensation. So that's the first exclusion. If Gloria Satterfield was working, which she most assuredly was on the day that she fell, this umbrella policy wouldn't pay out. And it would have to go through workers' comp. So that answers that question. Bodily injury or property damage, which is expected or intended from the standpoint of the insured, this exclusion will not apply if you are acting in good faith to protect person or property. Your actions were not fraudulent, criminal, or malicious. The underlying insurance provides coverage for the loss, property damage, and then they list property damage. Bodily injury or property damage occurring away from the premises owned by or rented. Some of these exclusions are the boating exclusions. Bodily injury or property damage occurring away from the premises owned by, rented to, or controlled by you or arising out of the ownership or use of any watercraft or recreational vehicle owned by the insured. So that is where, when they were looking for insurance with regard to Mallory Beach, some of these insurance exclusions don't cover the boating accident with regard to Mallory Beach. And so then they go through the other bodily injury. But I think that first one, with regard to the workers' comp, is a big reason about why he lied. So let's go to the confession of judgment real quick. I'm not going to make all of you nauseated by scrolling. So let me get to the end of this insurance policy. But workers' comp is very clearly intended. Let's see. This is the consent motion for court consideration of proposed confession of judgment. I just want to get to the confession of judgment. Confession of judgment. All right, let's go to this. I should swoop. Confession of judgment. This is Murdaugh issuing a confession of judgment saying, well, let's go in. Let's just read it and see what he says. This is from Michael Tony Satterfield individually and in his capacity as personal representative of the estate of Gloria Satterfield and Brian Harriet. So this is the son that we saw testify, who is now, again, the personal representative of his mother's estate, Richard Murdaugh and Bank of America. Richard Alexander Murdaugh Sr., on behalf of himself, his estate, heirs, and or assigns, hereby jointly and severally confesses judgment to Tony Satterfield and Brian Harriet, collectively judgment creditors, and their respective heirs in the amount of $4.3 million, inclusive of all prejudgment interest, attorney's fees, filing fees, and service fees. Executed on the date even herewith and in accordance with South Carolina law. By this stipulation, the parties hereto accept and stipulate to the process set forth herein, through which the judgment may be paid in whole or in part from the proceeds, if any, collected by the court-appointed receiver, John T. Lay. Debtor is a citizen. Debtor admits liability. Debtor and judgment creditors acknowledge and agree and stipulate that this judgment is subject to and restricted by the receivership. Debtor confesses and authorizes the entry of judgment in favor of judgment creditors in the amount of $4.3 million. Judgment creditors and debtor agrees and stipulates the amount of payment. In determining the amount of payment, if any, to which the judgment creditor is entitled from the funds recovered by receiver, the parties acknowledge and agree that the stipulation is as follows, and this is how the receivership is determining and distributing funds to the Satterfields. Let's see. I don't know if there's any more that we need to get into for our purposes today. By entering into this confession of judgment, debtor is not consenting to the appointment of a receiver as it pertains to Alec Murdaugh's authority to renounce his interest in the estate of Margaret Murdaugh. The undersigned agrees and affirms that he will not challenge or contest in any way in his capacity or authority to enter into or execute this confession of judgment and stipulation. Debtor has been represented by his own legal counsel in connection with it. Debtor hereby attests that he was represented by counsel Dick Harpootlian and James Griffin. Oh, I like that they wrote in the full Esquires in connection with the execution of this confession of judgment. And that is that. Let's see what Exhibit C is. This is the order granting the receivers. Let's go to the answer because we need to get to that. And if we don't get to it soon, I'm going to run out of time because I do have a hard stop today. I know there are other things going on in the world chat. I have not had a chance to see breaking news. That's why I don't cover breaking news. But if I don't get to this answer, I won't finish the topic I promised to do today. And then we will get to questions. So thank you. All right. Let's get to this answer, shall we? This is answer to amended complaint. This is Richard Murdaugh's answer. Defendant Richard Alexander Murdaugh Sr. hereby submits his answer. So this is his legal answer. Defendant admits the allegations in paragraph 1 to 8, denies the allegations in paragraph 9, admits the allegations in paragraph 10 to 12. This is not what we're really here for because some of these things are just the jurisdictional stuff and things like that. What we need to get to is what he says. Regarding the allegations in paragraph 14, defendant is unaware of when Nautilus became aware of facts regarding the Satterfield's claim. So he's not going to answer. He's not going to answer Nautilus became aware of the facts on this day. He's like, I don't know what day it was, so I can't really answer that and say you became aware or you didn't because I don't know. And therefore denies Nautilus became aware of them beginning in July 2021. Regarding the further allegations under paragraph 14, defendant admits the allegations insofar as he recommended Corey Fleming as counsel to the Satterfield family. Defendant admits insofar as it alleges defendant asked Brian Harriet and Tony Satterfield to renounce their respective rights to be personal representatives of the estate and asked Chad Westendorf to serve as a personal representative of the estate. Beyond that, defendant does not recall the mechanics of how the necessary probate forms were filed over 5 years ago and therefore otherwise denies the allegation. He's like, I don't remember. Defendant admits insofar as he was not a bona fide insured seeking coverage because he invented the critical facts giving rise to a purported liability covered by Nautilus's insurance policy. This is in his answer. He acted to assist the Satterfield estate succeed in a claim on those facts which the representatives of the Satterfield estate believed were true. Because he lied to them. Defendant does not recall the details of what letterhead appeared on correspondence from 5 years ago. The snark here does not thrill me. It's off-putting and ill-advised. He stole from Gloria's sons. He lied to them. He lied to his insurance company. Snark is not appropriate in this response. And I love lawyer snark. I don't love it here. Off-putting. This is not the place to snark. The allegation that Fleming and Murdaugh were effectively co-counsel is not a factual allegation, but rather a vague editorial comment requiring no answer. Girl. The motherfucking audacity in some of this answer right now. And this is why I wanted to cover the entire complaint and the entire answer, because it goes so far beyond just what's being reported, which is Alec Murdaugh lied about Gloria Satterfield's death. It's so much bigger than that. It's not a factual allegation, but rather a vague editorial comment requiring no answer. In other circumstances, I would live for this snark. In this circumstance, no. To the extent the answer is required, defendant does not know what is meant by this statement and therefore denies it. It said you were effectively working as co-counsel because you were co-conspirators. They should have just said that. They should have just said you were co-conspirators at the beginning. Defendant admits paragraph 14. I've never seen this many admissions in an answer anywhere. Ever. Defendant admits 14F insofar as it alleges defendant demanded Nautilus pay its full policy limits and that defendant threatened to admit liability at trial. So he admits it. Yeah, I admit that part. Defendant does not know what is meant by the allegation that he was, quote, abusive to the Nautilus adjuster, and therefore denies that allegation. I don't know what you mean by abusive to the Nautilus adjuster. So I can't answer that part. But yeah, I totally threatened you. Okay. Defendant admits paragraph 14G insofar as it alleges money paid by Nautilus were deposited into an account defendant created in the name of Forge. Fake Forge. Fake Forge. Chat. He might have got mask off. What else are they going to do with him at this point? We're getting there. We're getting there. We're getting there. We're getting there. Yeah, AR, exactly. I threatened you. I didn't abuse you. I wasn't punching you. I was hitting you. Oh my God. Oh my God. I don't know what you mean by abusive. It's such a subjective word. Fucking hell. This just reads so gross to me. Oh, I do need a Roy Kent growl on my soundboard. That's a very good idea. I do. So he admits that he deposited the money into Fake Forge. Defendant denies Corey Fleming or any person at MK had knowledge that Forge received the funds. He's like, well, that's fair. I don't know if they knew that I did that. I don't know what they knew. I knew that they knew. Fine. Defendant admits attorney's fees were deducted from the disbursement, but does not recall the exact amount of fees. Yeah. Corey Fleming took money. I don't know if it was $600,000. Like, potato. What's a couple $100,000 between friends at this point? Defendant denies 14H. Defendant denies 15. Corey Fleming, M&K, Chad Westendorf, Palmetto did not conspire or collude with defendant to cause Nautilus to pay a fraudulent claim. So did he lie to them too? Everyone's a victim? Is he trying to protect his friends? Chad, I'm open to your thoughts. Is he just trying to protect his friends? They didn't know. I lied to everyone. Is he like, whatever, I'm already in jail for the rest of my fucking life. At least I can try to protect someone else. Grethy, it is the exact same way he testified in court. Grethy in the chat said, this is how he testified in court. It is. It's word games. It's exactly parsing out the word games. Because of course it is. As to which, again, if you're answering a lawsuit, you do have to be precise, but there is a way to be precise in answering a complaint that is not snarky playing semantics. As to the allegations of abuse, that allegation is denied. That's it. I don't know what you mean by that word. Ew. As to allegations in paragraph 16, defendant admits he has been disbarred from the practice of law and that his conduct regarding the Satterfield settlement was one reason for his disbarment. Fine. Defendant is otherwise without knowledge sufficient to answer the allegations and therefore denies them. Paragraph 17. Defendant admits the allegations in paragraph 17A and B. No dogs were involved in the fall of Gloria Satterfield on February 2nd, 2018. After Ms. Satterfield's death, defendant invented Ms. Satterfield's purported statement that dogs caused her to fall to force his insurers to make a settlement payment. And he stated that she was not on the property to perform work. So how did Gloria Satterfield fall? And how did Gloria Satterfield fall? A fall that resulted in her dying. And also, he wasn't there, so how the fuck does he know? Did Maggie and Paul tell him before they were killed? And Maggie and Paul aren't here to tell us. There's no one left to tell us what happened. Because Gloria Satterfield is dead and Maggie and Paul are dead. Everyone there who was there when this happened is now dead. There is no one to test whether this is true or just another lie. Defendant admits the allegations in paragraph 17C, except that defendant denies the existence of any conspiracy to improperly cause Nautilus to pay. Defendant admits the allegations in 18. As to 19, defendant admits co-receivers were appointed to cover his assets in South Carolina. And then this gets into the rest of the allegations, but we got to pick up on a little bit more snark. Defendant denies the allegations in paragraph 21. Defendant admits his actions were reprehensible. You think? In that he misused vulnerable persons who trusted him. However, it's hyperbole to claim that stealing money from an insurance company is, quote, depravity without precedence in Western jurisprudence. They're like, come on, you're an insurance company. People fucking hate you. Rude. It's hyperbole to claim that stealing money from an insurance company is depravity without precedence in Western jurisprudence. However, this reframe annoys me because, yes, the money came from the insurance company, but it was stolen from the Satterfields, wasn't it? It was supposed to go to them. A lot of you have said this in the chat. Editor Danielle Marie said it too. Everyone there is now dead. I think that's the key here. Yes, one of them. One of them. All right, let's keep going. Defendant further denies acting in concert with any conspirators for the purpose of causing Nautilus to pay the fraudulent claim. Defendant admits the allegations in 22A and B. Defendant did state Ms. Satterfield was not on property at the time of her fall to perform work for defendant. He does not recall, however, why she was there that day over 5 years ago and therefore denies the allegations. Defendant admits that he told counsel appointed by Nautilus for his defense to disperse settlement funds to the personal representative of the plaintiff's estate and its lawyer, but otherwise denies the allegations of paragraph 22D. Defendant did not act in concert with any co-conspirators for the purpose of causing Nautilus to pay a fraudulent claim. Persons other than defendant, including Westendorf and Fleming, were unaware defendant converted his own use money believed to be dispersed to the Satterfield estate. So he's saying he lied to all of them. I don't know if he's covering for them or not. I don't know. Y'all are welcome to your own opinion. I don't know. I don't have an opinion as to it because it doesn't really matter there's nothing more they can do to him. He's in prison for life. He's going to be in prison for life. It doesn't matter at this point. So I don't know if he's covering for them or if this is the truth. Did he just lie to everyone? Who knows? Defendant was without sufficient knowledge to answer. Let's see if there's anything else. As to the allegations in paragraph 32, defendant admits that his conduct was immoral, unethical, oppressive, and/or offensive to public policy. Defendant expresses no opinion regarding the conduct of other persons referred to as co-conspirators. Defendant admits Nautilus suffered damages due to defendant's wrongful conduct, but otherwise denies the allegations in paragraph 33 to 35. Defendant was not engaged in trade practices, lawful or unlawful, because lying about the cause of Miss Satterfield's fall was not the conduct of any trade or commerce. Defendant is unaware of any conduct constituting an unlawful trade practice. He's like, that one we're getting into. Plaintiff has failed to join necessary parties under Rule 12b7 and 19b of the Federal Rules of Civil Procedure. Here we go. This has also not been widely covered, I don't think. Specifically, Eric Bland, Ronnie Richter, Bland Richter LLP, Tony Satterfield, individually and in his capacity as personal representative. Alec Murdaugh, in this paragraph, has said that the insurance company has not gone after all of the appropriate parties, and that the insurance company should also be going after Eric Bland, Ronnie Richter, their law firm Bland Richter, and Tony Satterfield as an individual and as the PR. Okay. Oh, and his brother, and Tony Satterfield's brother, Gloria Satterfield's other son, Brian Harriet. Oh. Is this the headline that's getting buried by the news? People are like, Alec Murdaugh lied about the cause of death. Alec Murdaugh wants the insurance company to go after Gloria Satterfield's son and their lawyers. Oh yeah, the son he stole from. Motion for the screaming goat granted. This is why I do these as a first look. Let's keep going. On information and belief, none of Eric Bland, Ronnie Richter, Bland Richter, Tony Satterfield, or Brian Harriet are citizens of Arizona, so their joinder would not deprive the court of subject matter jurisdiction. Eric Bland et al. Have recovered over $7.5 million by means of an action in South Carolina Court of Common Pleas, Satterfield versus Alec Murdaugh. Based on allegations that defendant converted a payment from Nautilus and a smaller payment from Lloyd's of London that should have been paid to the Satterfield estate. If Nautilus, get ready, buckle the fuck up, this is gonna get worse. If Nautilus never should have made any payment to the Satterfield estate and only attempted to do so because it was the victim of fraud, then the parties in possession of a recovery of the money allegedly stolen from Nautilus are necessary parties to an action by Nautilus for recovery of that money. Because A, the court cannot accord complete relief among the existing parties in their absence, and B, those persons and entities, quote, claim an interest relating to the subject of this action, and their absence will leave existing parties subject to a substantial risk of incurring double, multiple, or otherwise inconsistent obligations with that interest. Okay, I need to say two things. First, legally, they might not be wrong. Legally, they might not be wrong in this argument, saying, well, if they didn't have to do it this way, though, if Nautilus never should have paid, then those that I had to pay because I lied to Nautilus need to be paid. However, I think that this is the improper premise. And I need to go back and look at Satterfield versus Murdaugh, because in Satterfield versus Murdaugh, it seems that they went after him for stealing the settlement and saying, you stole the settlement from us, we're entitled to the settlement. And Alec Murdaugh is now arguing, well, if you never should have paid the settlement, Nautilus, then I can't be sued because I took the settlement because you never should have paid the settlement to them. So they need to be in this too. So Alec Murdaugh is trying to get the insurance company to also sue Gloria Satterfield's sons and their attorneys to perhaps disengorge the payments he made to Gloria Satterfield's son to pay back the insurance company. Old line read, I need to go look at these because I think some of them were malpractice recoveries, but they weren't from his malpractice insurance. There is more there. So now I think what I need to do is pull back up the Satterfield Murdaugh and circle back to this on Tuesday, because what I want to do now is go through the 911 call. Emily, this is why I said, look, it might be legally correct, but this is gross. Here's the thing with legality and morality. They could have made this argument in, I think, a less inflammatory way. But this is really Alec Murdaugh saying, if I stole from the insurance company, which he says, I stole from the insurance company, but the insurance company is saying that was fraud. So the insurance company is saying, they never should have paid out. So how can Alec be sued? This is their argument. How can Alec be sued to pay back Gloria Satterfield's family for what he stole if it was only stolen because it was gotten by fraud? It feels like he is trying to unwind his confession of judgment to the Satterfields, or at least drag the Satterfield boys and their lawyers into this lawsuit. Do I think this is personal? Yes. Do I think that this answer could have gone without this argument? Yes. Do I think there would have been any detriment to Alec Murdaugh? And I am open to other lawyers explaining different to me, because I've told you all I have feelings about this case. So if I'm just not seeing it, let me know. But I think Alec Murdaugh could defend against the insurance company without saying, as one of his defenses, that the insurance company has failed to join necessary parties. Maybe he couldn't have. Those that work in the insurance world, let me know what you think. I have feels about this. This feels more personal. Right? I want to know, has Eric Bland talked about this? I want to know if he has. I'll go look to see if he has talked about it. It's just gross. So those are the answers from Alec Murdaugh. He said that the dogs weren't involved in the death of Gloria Satterfield, that he lied and made that all up, and that Gloria Satterfield's sons and their lawyers are necessary parties to this action, and they need to come in because he was sued for maybe something he shouldn't have paid. Isn't that an interesting argument? And with that, we are going to go to the 911 call, but costing the boys more money in insurance fees to drag them into another lawsuit hits me sideways, and I do not like it. So I will take a step back later and see what Eric Bland had to say about it. I will circle back to that on Tuesday. Eric Bland will talk about this on his next Cup of Justice podcast. I will go look for Eric Bland's statement on this and cover that on Tuesday, because I want to listen to the 911 call with y'all. Are you there? Are you here with me to listen to the 911 call? Are you ready to do that? I think we just need to do that. This is the Satterfield 911 call that we're going to be listening to see what Paul and Maggie Murdaugh say to 911 when they call. This is about a 6-minute 911 call. I'll be chatting about it a little bit. Thank you, chat, for riding with me. I noticed that there was over 13,000 of you here. Don't forget to do the YouTube things. It actually does help, and I appreciate it. And if you're not subscribed, go ahead and subscribe. Why? Because my son has said I'm not a real YouTuber till I hit 1 million subscribers, and that is my goal. Let's be totally honest. I would also really like a gold play button. Sometimes external validation helps. So thank you for that. Thank you for that. And I'm speaking at like 2 YouTube conferences coming up here. And so I appreciate you subscribing so I can just be like, look, see, I'm a real YouTuber now. And I appreciate it. All right. Where is the silver? Jolene, it's behind me. So I need to go get my other one. I've got 2 silver play buttons, but right where it's right up there. I need to go get the other one. Maybe put it back here. I need to move the pens. There's lots of stuff going on back here. All righty. Let's listen to this together. Let me know if you can hear it well. Let's make sure I've got that turned up. This is pretty loud to my remembrance. All right, let's go.
9:24 a.m. 38 seconds, February 2, 2018.
This is going to have some peaks in the sound because of how loud 911 calls are. I'm going to turn this up a little so I can control it on my end a little bit better. So I'll try to control the peaking a little bit, just so you know.
Come here. 911, where's your emergency? 4147 Moselle Road.
The 911 operator said, 911, what's your emergency? And Maggie automatically gets into giving the address and not stating what the emergency is. If you have not listened to this 911 call, it's tough. Yeah, it's tough. Real tough.
Hey, can you give me the address one more time? Make sure I got it right.
Yes, 4147 Moselle Road.
Okay, what's going on out there?
I'm sorry?
What's going on out there?
My housekeeper has fallen and her head is bleeding. I cannot get her up.
You are calling 911 and they say, what's your emergency? Normally, well, I can't say normally. Everyone responds to crises differently. I've listened to a lot of 911 calls in my work. A lot of time when there are accidental injuries, you hear a bit more frantic, and then you normally get people jumping into what happened, and then 911 saying, back up. I need you to slow down for me. Tell me this, tell me this, tell me that. Where are you located? What's going on? It's interesting that this immediately starts with, this is our address. This is what's going on. Like somebody's head's bleeding.
Okay, you said she's fallen. She's bleeding from the head.
Yes,
Okay. How old is she?
I'm not sure, like 58 maybe.
Do you know if she fell from standing or not?
No,
Where'd she fall from?
she fell going up the steps, up the brick steps,
Okay, so she outside or inside?
outside.
Okay.
She fell going up the brick steps outside.
How many steps is there?
8.
Okay, is she on the ground or is she up near the
She's
top?
on the ground. She's on the ground. She's on the
Is she
ground.
conscious?
No, not really.
What does
Is
not
she
really
awake at
mean?
all?
Is she conscious? No, not really.
Yes.
Okay. Is she just not like responding appropriately, but she is awake?
Man, she's not responding.
Okay, I've already got them on the way. Me asking questions does not slow them down, man.
Oh, this is the 911 operator, I think, responding to Maggie being like, "Ugh, no. But also, I think there's a bit of a miscommunication here between Maggie saying she's not really responding and 911 trying to figure out if Gloria Satterfield is completely unconscious, not unconscious, quasi-conscious. So 911 is trying to like, ma'am, they're on the way. Like, ma'am, can you please tell us what's happening? So I think the operator is like, I just need you to answer the questions.
Knowing if she's conscious is one of the things that the medic needs to know. If she's responding at all to you.
No.
Not really.
Okay, so she's not.
Not really and no are two different things. Is someone conscious? Not really. Well, are they unconscious or are they conscious?
Responsive at all.
Well, I mean, she's mumbling.
Okay, so she is somewhat conscious. Is she breathing okay?
Yes.
Is she bleeding from anywhere?
Yes, her head.
Okay, are you guys able to control the bleeding?
No.
Can you
I
put
haven't
a
even
clean
tried.
rag or anything on it?
Yeah, I got it.
Okay, is she bleeding from like her face, the back of the head,
I've got
her
an
neck?
ambulance coming. Sir, my name what?
Where exactly is she bleeding from on her head?
Maggie was talking to someone else then. I know Paul's there. It seems that Alec wasn't there, but I don't know if that's super clear. So she just stops talking to 911 and is talking to other people, which is also interesting. A lot of time people will be like, I need to tell them this.
I'm not sure. At the top of her head.
Okay.
What's it like?
Okay.
Oh, gosh.
What happened?
She just fell back down. Can I get off this phone so I can go down there?
Can I have your name and phone number? Or are you able to bring the phone down by her?
Like,
what?
Aren't you on a cell phone?
Are you on a cell phone where you can walk down there and talk?
I'm on a cell phone. No.
Okay, can you bring it with you so we can ask her some questions about what kind of pain she's having?
Somebody's talking to Maggie in the background. I don't know if she fell back down. Is Maggie telling 911 she fell back down or Maggie talking to somebody else? It's a little unclear to me. I think it can be interpreted both ways.
Hello?
Yeah, can you
This is now
what kind
Paul.
of pain she's having?
Ma'am, she can't talk.
Okay, do you know?
She's cracked her head and there's blood on the concrete and she's bleeding out of her left ear.
Okay, she's bleeding out of her ear.
And out of her head. She's cracked her skull.
Okay. All right, the other lady said that she had tried to stand up and fell down again.
No, I was holding her up. And
Okay.
she told me to turn her loose and she was trying to use her arm, but then she fell back over.
Okay, do you guys know who she is?
Yes, she works for us.
Okay, do you know if she's ever had a stroke or anything before?
Ma'am, can you stop asking her these questions?
I already have them on the way.
Ma'am, can you stop asking me so many questions? No, that's their job.
Wait, me asking questions does not slow them down in any way. These are relevant questions that I have to ask for the ambulance. One of my questions is, has she ever had a stroke?
I don't believe she's ever had a stroke now that I know
Okay. Okay, is she able to talk to you guys at all, or is she unconscious now?
She's not unconscious. She's just mumbling.
Okay.
I believe she's maybe hit her head and maybe has a concussion or something.
Okay.
Maybe.
Do you know what her name is?
He's gone to, I believe she's hit her head, but he had said she cracked her skull. She is bleeding out of her ear and the back of her head earlier.
Gloria Satterfield.
You said Sanderfield?
Ma'am?
You said Sanderfield?
Satterfield.
Satterfield. Okay, what's the house look like out there?
It's offset off the road.
Okay.
It's a big house, got a wide driveway.
With a long driveway?
Yeah,
Is there a gate or anything down there that they're going to need to come through?
There's two big brick columns that have to come through.
So all of the normal.
Okay, but there's no like gate code or anything that they need?
All of the
No,
normal
ma'am.
911.
They can look for a fellow on a 6x6 Ranger.
How do we get there?
Okay.
Where
Waiting on
will
him
we
in the road
find
is
you?
Green. You know what they probably know what the Ranger looks like.
Yeah. You said like
Fella's
green.
got on a black sweater, a
Okay.
hat, and pants.
Okay. All right.
All right.
If something changes with her, if she loses consciousness or anything like that, I need one of you guys to call me back right away, okay?
Okay, well, how long is it going to take? Because this take us...
That I don't know. I've had them on the way since Maggie first called me. They were toned right away.
Okay.
All right, but I think they're coming. Hang on 1 minute. Let me check. They're coming from somewhere on Belt Highway in Ruffin, okay? That's where their station is.
Thank you.
One thing that I do notice in all of this, I don't hear any dogs barking.
All right, but like I said, if something changes, call me back.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
And that's the end of the 911 call. There are no dogs barking in the background. There is no statement about the dogs. I don't know if their property manager was there. There does sound like there's other voices in the background. They talked about the fact that they were by where the Ranger was. We know that they parked the Ranger like ATV in front of the house. We saw those pictures in the murder trial. So with that, we really have a 911 call where they didn't say much about how she fell. She fell going up the steps. And so that's what we know. She fell going up the steps. And I don't know where they were at the time they called 911 because Maggie said, I want to get off this phone and go back down there. I don't know where back down there is. I don't know where she was, but those were the brick steps going up to the front of that Moselle property is where she fell backwards from. So no conversation of the dogs, and the ambulance arrived. Gloria Satterfield went to the hospital and died some 10 days later as a result of the injuries suffered from this fall. And that seems to be getting reinvestigated, and this insurance case over it is going to continue to go. I don't know how long it took EMS to get there. We do know from law enforcement that when they were called to the scenes of the murders, it took over 20 minutes to get there. And so we do know how far and remote they are, that it is going to take some time. So let me know if you want me to continue covering the insurance case. I think what I'm going to do is look at the lawsuit between the Satterfield family and Murdaugh for Tuesday, and then we'll do some other stuff for Tuesday as well. But I think it'll be helpful now that Alec Murdaugh is trying to pull in the Satterfield kids and Eric Bland, going over that lawsuit in more detail than we have before, because by the time I was covering all of this, I mentioned that lawsuit, but the confession of judgment came pretty quickly thereafter, and we didn't dive into it. So that's something new to cover. And I will either cover that, well, I shouldn't promise Tuesday. I'll either cover that Tuesday or I'll cover that Wednesday on the podcast and do one of the two of those. I'll just have to decide what the best way for me to do that content is. And then we will cover that next week. With all of that being said, I have a hard stop coming up in a few minutes. So we are going to do questions. Some of these questions I'm going to keep to answer soon. So Alec wasn't at the house, just Paul and Maggie. That's what I've always understood to be the case. I think if Alec was at the house, he would have been on the phone. So yes. Oh, let's get to questions. I've got questions. You've got questions. We're going to speed run some questions. So as we speed run some questions, and if I don't get to them, I'm going to apologize in advance before I take off for the rest of the week. Do the admissions on the lies, etc., make a case for bringing in the Satterfield boys into the lawsuit? It's a really good question. Oh gosh, I have no lip gloss on. We're gonna roll with Emily. Don't look at yourself in the camera. We're gonna roll with it. Alec is saying his argument is essentially, I got sued for not paying out the insurance payments to you. But if the insurance company is suing me that they never should have paid them out, how can I get sued for not paying it to you when they shouldn't have paid it to me? That's where we're at in that argument. So yes, a little bit. Yes, a little bit. Let's get to a few other. Oh, yes, FAQ music. Some of you like the music, some of you don't like the music. I like that we can have the background music. So we're going to put on a light amount of background music because, well, I enjoy it. And StreamYard lets us do it. So we're going to have a little bit of fun, but I'm going to keep it low. Thanks for the reminder. I love it. Look, I like having new toys and new buttons. It's why I got the sound changer. It's why I enjoy that this feature was added to StreamYard. It's why we're going to have to talk more about me being a StreamYard ambassador another day. We absolutely have to. There are so many birthdays in the chats. I have seen tons of you who have birthdays today, birthdays this week. Stina G, happy birthday. I've never stayed awake through a single Star Wars anything. It's an annoying birthday. You're like, people are like, oh my God, May the 4th, your birthday, Star Wars Day. And you're like, couldn't care. Happy birthday to you, to everyone in the chat celebrating birthdays. Happy birthdays. Runkle, I've seen you in the chat. It's good to see you. I know you've been here hanging out. Happy Star Wars Day. I'm in a Star Wars tank. I sewed myself. It's a lot of fun to share the Force spirit. It is. I love the world of Star Wars. So there we are. Space wizards for me. May the 4th be with you, Law Nerds. I also got my Orchid Stanley yesterday on Mama Law Nerd's recommendation. This came about because of the chat. If the chat hadn't let me know they were launched, I wouldn't have seen it until too late. So this came about because of the chat. Here's what I love. They changed the top bit a little bit to put like the Stanley Griffin up there. And I love the soft touch. It's really nice. So there we go with the lavender, the lovely lavender Stanley. I hope you like it. It's fantastic. Susie said silencing is real. I had to stay in class with my assaulter because I wouldn't want to ruin her education despite a zero tolerance, and it was on camera. I'm sorry. It's like, but think of them. It's like, no, they should have thought about that when they took the action that they took. That shouldn't have been put on you, and I'm sorry that it was. Thank you, J. Michael. We are excited for birthday weekend, and thank you for all the birthday wishes. I also wanted to tell you all why I would be off the internet for a little for the weekend, because I feel like I need to explain. I know I don't, but I'm like, this is what I'm doing. Audrey said, EDB, I was with you every day of trial, and despite the sad subject, I truly had a wonderful experience with you and the Law Nerds, and think back on those weeks of community so fondly. There is something very special about trial coverage. The end of June, we will be doing another week of coverage, and again, hard topics, but we all get to be with each other day in and day out, and it becomes a nice little routine. And I like being able to shift between live trial coverage and not, because I do need time to kind of recalibrate after trial coverage. So a week long preliminary hearing in June is going to be really nice. It's right at the tail end of VidCon, so I'm sure I will be a little hoarse and tired. Sandy Hall, happy birthday tomorrow. Lots of Taurus birthdays in here. Y'all can share your signs if you want. You can share your rising signs if you want. Happy birthday from Gatlinburg. Cheers. I need to get out to Gatlinburg. Old Smoky's out in Gatlinburg. Drinking a vanilla Coke at 2:15 a.m. in Australia. Now, is it vanilla Coke or is it Coke with vanilla flavored vodka? Teasing. I'm teasing. Not really surprised when it comes to Murdaugh. Tracy, that's a very, very fair point. I'm coming in from the UK drinking Gildenfinch. I hope I pronounced that right. Gildenfittich. That's better. Happy birthday. I hope you have an awesome weekend. Thank you. I will definitely be drinking some whiskey this weekend. Emily, spending my last day with a beloved beagle who's sick. I'm so sorry. I hope it's a good day. It's a hard day. Don't forget to take pictures. I'm so glad to have a bright spot in our day. Cuddles, snoring, and EDB. Lilybet, there is something specifically difficult about losing a beloved paw nerd. So all of our thoughts are with you. We have been there. Jay Lewis said, I have been to jail twice on minimal traffic violations, not even moving violations. Well, that's really frustrating. And doesn't always happen depending on jurisdiction. Emily, what are you in the human design system? I'm a reflector, only 1% of the population. Okay, I don't remember these things in my head. Others remember them for me. So I'm going to pull it up real quick and let you know what I am, because once again, I make notes because I have done all of the things from Enneagram to Myers-Briggs to all the rest of them. I love an assessment. I love a quantification. So I am pulling that up. I'm going to go back. Elizabeth, we definitely looked at those exclusions. I found them very helpful. Still voting for Dilly Parton. I'll get there. If we ever actually understand him, I'm going to be deeply concerned for us. Allie, that's a fair point with regard to Murdaugh, because who understands what Murdaugh is up to anyway? it's really staggering. Like the Murdaugh corruption is really, truly a staggering thing. Corey Fleming has been disbarred. Nautilus is Murdaugh's excess liability that paid over $4 million. Lloyd's of London paid the $500K on the Moselle home. Thank you. That is a very helpful reminder. I need to go through the insurance stuff more in my notes. I just had not had time to do so. Let's see. My notes just don't want to pull up, which is not helpful. I am a projector. There. There we go. That. With regard to human design, projector. So if you guys aren't familiar with human design, I like all the quantified self stuff. It's a lot of fun. We'll do that in another members only chatting about all of those things. Is it possible that Alec did something to Gloria because he needed money? I don't think so. I don't think Alec was there, but I think lying about the insurance to steal the money might have been opportunistic, like not a plan. But once something happened, it was like, this is how I can use this to my advantage, if that makes sense. Happy almost birthday. Thank you, Shauna. My birthday is May 12th, the day that Zelda releases. I'm so excited. Got my Zelda Switch this week. Can't wait. Best birthday plans ever. Zelda lore is my favorite. It's so good. This is my old Switch in the Zelda case. The Zelda Switch is back there on my desk. I cannot wait for new Zelda. But now the kids are all like, can we all play Zelda 2? I'm like, I'm not buying 3 of these. I mean, maybe I will be. But I don't know. Ohio Pom Mom, it's real hard to watch what Alec is doing. Michael Sin said everyone said the dogs weren't allowed in the house, so how did they trip her down a flight of stairs? These were the outdoor stairs, but I still don't think the dogs were anywhere near. And it seems like the dogs, A, were well trained, and B, weren't really just running around the property. And Gloria had worked with this family for quite a long time. JK said, now that Alex is disbarred, will his son become an attorney? I don't know if Buster will be getting back into law school. Buster got kicked out of law school. I don't think Buster is going to go on to become an attorney. Oh, you're welcome, Michael. The chat got it. Wedge, it's so good to see you. May the 4th be with you. You know that thing I didn't do, but I just told you that I did? Lawyer, yeah, I don't remember. Lawyer, bruh. Bruh. That's the answer. I love watching your lives while knitting. You're welcome, learning to knit now. Thank you. Lots of love, Em, to all my law nerds. Ooh, your hair is such a fun color. Purple Moon Magic Mayhem. I love it. Jen, that's great. Sophia said the 911 call and their behavior on it makes me sure this wasn't an accident, in my opinion. There's lots of speculation about that, Sophie. I just don't know what's going on with all of this. Gender Art, it's Star Wars Day. May the 4th be with you. We are celebrating over here with our Star Wars shorts and lightsabers. Question, why are they wasting time when he got life? The insurance company wants their money back. That's why they're wasting time. And they're the insurance company. They have the time to do it, and they have the lawyers to do it. If Alec has 101 charges, can we start calling him Cruella de Vil? I don't know. I think that might be unfair to Cruella de Vil. Witchy Boo said, hey, Emily Law Nerds. It's my 37th birthday today. I was just diagnosed with ADHD, and you make the journey a lot easier for me. Thank you for all you do. Congratulations on knowing your brain better. Cheers. Happy 37th birthday. Also cheers. Lots of birthday this week. Thank you. Whatchamacallit, thank you for that. We're going to do this. It's a quiet birthday weekend here. We're not going into downtown Nashville at all. We're not going near downtown Nashville. We're staying outside of Nashville this weekend. Thank you so much. Happiest birthdays to everyone in the chat. Thank you for all the birthday wishes to me. I will be back around the internet on Monday. I will be off for the weekend with the family. I'm going to be sharing Rick Hoag's stream that he has coming up. I'm going to try to record a little video to send to him. Hoag, if you're in the chat, I'm going to try to record a little video to send to you because we've got so much family stuff going on Saturday. With all of that, which I now say way too much. But thank you for being here. Thank you for being Law Nerds. I have got to bounce because I have a meeting in like 5 minutes. Y'all, Stay safe. Have a good weekend. If you are in Nashville to go see Taylor Swift, take your rain gear. Keep an eye on Nashville Severe Weather on Twitter. They are the best. They absolutely get you up to date on rain. There is rain for Friday. There's going to be some rain on Saturday. There might be rain on Sunday. Stay dry. Congratulations to all of you whose odds were in your favor and you got tickets. I'm going to go. Thank you all for all the birthday wishes. I'll see you back here on Monday after another turn around the sun. Well, I'll be back on Quick Bits on Monday. I'll be back here live on Tuesday, and we've got a lot more insurance stuff to cover. It seems with all of this, we're going on a deep dive, y'all. Get ready for it. We're going on a deep dive with this. I've got a lot of questions, and I know you do too. Murdaugh, man, what the fuck with this? I'm going to start titling the Murdaugh episodes "The Audacity." Insurance, the audacity, new charges. We're just going to go that way with a naming scheme. I'll see you guys in the next one. Thanks for being Law Nerds.
You can find all the Law Nerd goodies at lawnerdshop.com. Connect with me on social media at the Emily D. Baker. And don't forget to check out my podcasts, The Emily Show, and the new podcast, Quick Bits, summarizing everything I talk about on my Tuesday and Thursday live streams. You know, when you only have time for just the quick bits.